In the world of tech, we've seen plenty of fastest growing startup ever claims. Slack did it. Zoom did it. OpenAI definitely did it. But in 2024, a company most people had never heard of quietly shattered almost every growth record in software history. $100 million in annual recurring revenue in just 20 months. Now crossed $9 billion valuation. For a company with barely 200 employees. It's Cursor. Not a chatbot. Not a search engine. Not a social network. A code editor. The most boring category in software had suddenly produced the most exciting startup in tech. By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly how Cursor went from zero to a $9 billion valuation in just 2 years. And you'll discover the hidden risks that could bring it all crashing down. But first, we need to go back. Chapter 1. The World Before Cursor. It's 1985. They launched GitHub Copilot, the first major AI coding assistant. You'd start typing, and Copilot would suggest the rest of the line. It felt like magic, like having a mind reader sitting next to you, finishing your thoughts. Developers went crazy for it. Within a year, over 1 million people were using Copilot. Microsoft had done it again, right? First mover advantage. Unlimited resources. Unbeatable distribution. Game over. Except, there was a crack. A tiny gap in the market that almost nobody noticed. Because here's the truth about Copilot, it was just a plugin. An add-on. A feature bolted onto an old system. Copilot could auto-complete a line of code, but it couldn't understand your entire project. It couldn't refactor 50 files at once. It couldn't have a conversation about your code base and then actually make changes. It was AI as an afterthought, not AI as the foundation. And somewhere in Massachusetts, 4 friends were asking a dangerous question. What if we built something different? What if the entire editor, every button, every feature, every interaction was designed around AI from the very beginning? Chapter 2. The Founder's Origin Story. MIT, the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. More billion-dollar founders have walked these halls than almost anywhere on Earth. But in the late 2010s, 4 students were forming a friendship that would create something even bigger. Michael Truel, Swala Asif, Arvid Lenmark, Aman Sanger. They weren't just classmates. They were obsessed with the same thing, artificial intelligence. Michael, who would become CEO, was the kind of kid who taught himself calculus for fun. Swala, he was a competitive programmer. The kind of person who solves problems in 10 minutes that take others 10 hours. He didn't just write code, he thought in code. Arvid and Aman brought expertise in distributed systems and cutting-edge AI research. Together, The four of them spent countless nights debating one question: where is artificial intelligence going? Because here's what they understood that most people didn't. The AI models were getting better. Exponentially better. Every few months, the capabilities would leap forward. And they realized something terrifying and exhilarating at the same time. So, in 2022, they made a decision that would define their lives. They dropped everything: the job offers, the safe paths, the comfortable futures, and founded a company called Anysphere. The name wasn't random. Anysphere meant any possibility, any future, any world they wanted to build. But here's where the story gets interesting, because they had two choices. Option 1, build a plugin for VS Code. Safe. Easy. Everyone else was doing it. Dozens of AI coding assistants were launching, all fighting to be the best autocomplete. Option 2, fork for VS Code. Take its open source foundation and rebuild it from scratch with AI at the core. Not AI as a feature. AI as the soul of the product. Most people told them option 2 was suicide. And honestly, they had a point. Because developers don't switch editors. They just don't. Your code editor is like your home. You spent years customizing it. You know every shortcut, every setting, every quirk. Asking a developer to switch editors is like asking someone to suddenly write with their other hand. And remember, for VS Code, had 73% market share. Built by one of the richest companies in history. With millions of users and decades of polish. The Anysphere team was 4 guys in their 20s, with no funding, no users, and an idea that sounded insane. But Michael and his team believed something different. They believed AI was about to get so good, so transformative, that developers would switch for the right tool. But you couldn't build that tool as a plugin. You needed control. Total control. Over every pixel, every interaction, every experience. So they chose option 2. Late nights turned into all-nighters. Weeks blurred together. They were building something nobody had built before, with no guarantee anyone would use it. But then, something unexpected happened. They finished the prototype. And when they showed it to developers, the reactions weren't what they expected. They were better. Chapter 3. The Product Breakthrough. Cursor launched to the public in early 2023. And at first glance, it looked almost identical to VS Code. Same layout. Same vibe. The Cursor team knew the biggest barrier was switching costs. Therefore, they eliminated them. You could import all your VS Code extensions, all your settings, all your customizations, in about 60 seconds. Moving to Cursor felt less like switching and more like upgrading. But once you started using it, that's when your brain broke. Let's start with Tab. In any normal editor, the Tab key indents your code. Boring. Basic. What it's done for 50 years. In Cursor, Tab becomes supernatural. Here's how it works. As you're typing, Cursor's AI is watching everything. Not just your current line, your entire file. Your whole project. It's predicting what you want to write next. And I don't mean the next word. I mean the next 10 lines. Sometimes entire functions. You type 3 characters, and Go's text appears. The code you were about to write, already there, floating like a suggestion from the future. If it's right, you hit Tab. The code appears. If it's wrong, you keep typing. The AI learns and adjusts. Developers reported saving hours every day. Not minutes. Hours. But Tab was just the appetizer. Command K changed everything. You highlight a section of code. You press CMD plus K. A little text box appears. And now, you type in English. Not code. English. Add error handling to this function. Make this run faster. Convert this to TypeScript. Explain what this does because I have no idea. Cursor reads your words, understands the context, and rewrites the code. You're not programming anymore. You're having a conversation. You're telling the computer what you want, in human language, and it's doing the work. Every code editor has a sidebar. In Cursor, that sidebar becomes your smartest colleague. You can ask things like, how does the authentication system work in this code base? And Cursor doesn't just search for keywords. It actually understands relationships between files, the architecture, the logic, the why behind the what. It's like having a senior developer who has memorized every single line of your code, available 24 hours a day, never tired, never annoyed, never on vacation. But the feature that truly blew minds? Agent mode. In agent mode, you don't edit code. You assign tasks. Add dark mode to this app, and Cursor goes to work, autonomously, all by itself. A feature that used to take a full day, done before lunch. A bug that needed hours of detective work, found in seconds. GitHub Copilot was a tool that lived inside an editor. Cursor was an AI that happened to look like an editor. That difference? It would be worth billions. Chapter 4. The Explosive Growth. Nobody expected what happened next. There was no marketing campaign, no billboards, no Super Bowl commercial, no influencer deals. Just developers telling other developers that they'd found something special. And the internet exploded. It started on Twitter, now X. A developer would post a screen recording of Cursor doing something incredible. The tweet would go viral. 10,000 impressions, 50,000, 100,000. People would download Cursor to see if the hype was real. This is what Silicon Valley calls product-led growth. When your product is so good that users become your marketing team. 10 million ARR. Venture capitalists started making calls. 50 million ARR. Partners at major firms started flying in for meetings. 100 million ARR. Let me put that in perspective, because these numbers are almost hard to believe. Slack, one of the fastest growing enterprise software companies ever, took about 4 years to reach $100 million ARR. Zoom, which exploded during the pandemic, took about 7 years. Cursor? Around 2 years. Maybe less. This wasn't just fast. This was one of the fastest growing SaaS companies in history. Not just in AI. In all of software. The user numbers matched the revenue. Hundreds of thousands of developers switched to Cursor. Not hobbyists. Not students tinkering on weekends. Engineers at Google. Developers at Meta. Programmers at startups, and Fortune 500 companies alike. And then came the famous endorsements. Top tech YouTubers made videos. Is Cursor worth the hype? Spoiler, yes. Developers with hundreds of thousands of followers tweeted their experiences. Podcast hosts who'd never cared about code editors were suddenly discussing Cursor for 20-minute segments. And in Silicon Valley, when something grows this fast, investors don't just notice. They panic. And what happened next would shock even the founders. Chapter 5. The Funding and Valuation War. It became the hottest deal Silicon Valley had seen in years. Then Cursor started growing. And growing. And growing. The Series A brought in Andreessen Horowitz. If you don't know A16Z, let me explain why this mattered. Andreessen Horowitz is arguably the most prestigious venture capital firm on the planet. They backed Facebook before anyone believed in it. Airbnb when people thought it was a joke. GitHub before Microsoft paid $7.5 billion for it. When A16Z invests, it's a signal to the entire market. This is legitimate. Pay attention. Then came the Series B. Reports indicated that Cursor raised over $900 million at a valuation exceeding $9 billion. $9 billion. For a company about 2 years old, with a team still relatively small, building a code editor. Why would anyone pay that much? First, the market is massive. There are nearly 30 million software developers worldwide. That number grows every year. Every single one needs a code editor. If Cursor captured just 10% of that market, that's 3 million paying customers. At $20 per month, that's $720 million in annual revenue. Second, the business model is beautiful. Subscriptions mean recurring revenue, high margins, predictable growth. But the third reason? That's where the real money is. Investors believe Cursor could become a platform. Think about companies like Figma, Slack, or Salesforce. They all started as tools. Then they became platforms, ecosystems where other companies built on top of them. This creates lock-in, network effects, and massive long-term value. Investors see Cursor on the same trajectory. Today, it's a code editor. Tomorrow, it could be the operating system for all software development. The central hub connecting coding, testing, deployment, collaboration, everything. VCs compared Cursor to early Google, to young Salesforce, to Figma before Adobe tried to buy it for $20 billion. That's why they threw billions at 4 engineers in their 20s. Chapter 6. The Bigger Picture. Let's address the elephant in the room. The question every programmer secretly thinks about when they use Cursor. The question that might be on your mind right now. Is AI going to replace software developers? 30 million people worldwide write code for a living. You also might have seen a lot of people from non-tech background putting tutorials on YouTube. I made a complete app with Cursor, and it's ready to deploy. If AI can code better than humans, what happens to all of them? Here's what I believe is actually happening. For junior developers, people early in their careers doing straightforward tasks, AI is a genuine threat. Here's the uncomfortable truth. If Cursor can write a basic function in 10 seconds, why would a company pay a junior developer to spend 30 minutes on it? Those entry-level jobs? The ones where you learn by doing simple tasks? They're disappearing. Not someday. Right now. But for senior developers, the story is completely different. AI is terrible at understanding complex systems. It doesn't know why your company's authentication works the way it does. It can't attend a meeting where the product manager changes the requirements. It can't debug a problem that spans infrastructure, code, and human miscommunication. Senior developers aren't being replaced. They're being amplified. Here's the shift that's happening. A great engineer used to be called a 10x developer. Someone who produces 10 times the output of an average programmer. With AI tools like Cursor, that same engineer might become a 100x developer. The question isn't, will AI replace programmers? The question is, what will programmers become? Some people believe developers will become AI managers. Others think the job will split. Routine coding becomes fully automated. Creative, complex work becomes even more valuable because it's what AI can't do. Either way, the skills that matter are changing dramatically. System thinking? More valuable than ever. Communication? Critical. Knowing what to build? More important than knowing how. Chapter 7. The Risks Nobody Talks About. I've spent most of this video telling you how incredible Cursor is. Now let me tell you what could go wrong. Because there's a dark side to this AI coding revolution. And not enough people are talking about it. Risk 1. Dangerous over-reliance. Here's a scenario that's happening right now. A developer uses Cursor for a year. AI writes most of their code. Productivity skyrockets. Then, the AI makes a subtle mistake. A logical error buried in a complex function. The developer, who's gotten used to trusting the AI, doesn't catch it. The code ships. The bug causes a production outage. Customer data gets exposed. The company loses millions. When you rely on AI, you stop double-checking. You trust too much. Verify too little. This is especially dangerous for junior developers. If AI writes all your code, do you actually learn to code? Or do you just learn to press tab? Risk 2. Confident hallucinations. Here's something terrifying. It doesn't say, "I'm not sure about this line." It doesn't add a disclaimer. It generates code with total confidence, whether it's correct or completely broken. Cursor will confidently write a security vulnerability, confidently introduce a memory leak, confidently create code that works in testing but crashes in production. And because the code looks professional and clean, developers accept it without scrutiny. Risk 3. Security nightmares. When you use Cursor, your code travels to AI models in the cloud. That means your company's secrets, your proprietary algorithms, your competitive advantages, your intellectual property, are being sent to external servers. Cursor has security measures. Enterprise plans offer more protection. But the fundamental reality remains. AI-assisted coding requires sharing code with third parties. For companies in finance, healthcare, government, defense, that's often a deal breaker. Risk 4. A generation that can't code. This might be the most important risk of all. Right now, a generation of developers is learning to code with AI assistance from day one. They've never written a function without Cursor suggesting the rest. Never debugged without AI help. Never truly struggled with code because the AI smooths every rough edge. What happens to their fundamental understanding? Can they debug without AI? Do they understand what's happening at a low level? Do they know why things work, or just that they work? God knows. What programming looks like in 5 years. I believe we're heading toward a world where most code is not written by humans. That doesn't mean humans are out of the loop. It means our role transforms. Today, we have programmers. Tomorrow, we might have software directors, people who describe what they want in plain English, who review and approve AI-generated solutions, who understand systems at an architectural level without typing every semicolon themselves. Some call this prompt engineering. As for Cursor itself, here's where I think it's heading. Deeper agent capabilities. AI that doesn't just write code, but runs tests, deploys to production, monitors systems, fixes bugs automatically. Voice integration. Coding by talking, not typing. Hey Cursor, add a login page with email authentication. Full project intelligence. AI that understands not just your code base, but your documentation, your user feedback, your business goals. Let's step back and see the full picture. Programming has been changing. For friends from MIT are fixing it. In 2022, they started a company with an idea everyone called crazy. And the future they're building is coming faster than anyone expected. For friends in their 20s built something that's making a $3 trillion company nervous. That's remarkable. For everyone watching, this is what technological revolution looks like in real time. Not one dramatic announcement. So here's my question for you. Are you using Cursor? What's been your experience? Drop a comment below. I read every single one, and I genuinely want to know what you think. If this video gave you value, if it helped you understand something important about where technology is heading, do me a favor. Hit that subscribe button. Turn on notifications. Because we go deep on the companies and technology shaping the future. Stories like this one. And I don't want you to miss what's coming next. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.